Welcome to Traveling While Black in Seattle.
Hey, what's up? I'm Anthony. This is my wife, Marley, and welcome to another episode of Traveling While Black in Seattle.
Yes, welcome back, everyone. As a brief reminder, our show is based on our experiences in and around Seattle, and we base those experiences off of how good of a drive it was, how much fun we had, and most importantly, how comfortable do we feel as Black people visiting for the first time.
Well, it's officially Black History Month, and in honor of that, we are doing a special Black History episode.
Yes, for this episode, we're going to focus on a little-known important figure in Washington State Black history. The man's name is George Bush, and he actually settled here in the Pacific Northwest, and he came from Missouri.
Hey, yep. It's also important to note about this episode is because we're going to be focusing on George, we will not be giving the grade for level of fun or comfortability for Black people.
But we will give a grade on drive grade because it is a little bit of a trek from Seattle.
Oh yeah. So to learn more about a man that came up to the Pacific Northwest starting out in Missouri just like us, stay tuned and watch this episode. And as always, let us know what you think.
For this Black History Month, we are telling the story of a man who got tired of the environment he was living in, so he moved out of the state of Missouri and headed to settle in the Pacific Northwest, and in doing so, made history.
Nope, not talking about me. Ha!
Nope, we're talking about George Bush, a Black man who was among the first pioneers to settle in the Puget Sound in Washington State, and then made history by becoming the first Black man to own land in the state.
In 1844, George Bush was tired of living in Missouri. See, George was a Black man with a white wife, and living in Missouri during that time made it that George and his family would be on the receiving end of some extreme racism.
So George packed up his family and along with a group of other pioneers, hit the Oregon Trail and headed to the Pacific Northwest.
Unfortunately, in 1844, racism was almost impossible to escape, as was the case for George when he and his group landed in Oregon. See, in Oregon in 1844, they had passed their first Black exclusionary law that just didn't prohibit Black people from owning land, but it even prohibited Black people from living there.
The law actually stated that Black people who temporarily settled in the territory would be publicly whipped 39 lashes repeatedly every 6 months until they left.
So, George and the party continued north, eventually settling in the Puget Sound and what would become known as Washington Territory. There, George would own and operate a very successful farm that fueled the settlement that would eventually become the city of Tumwater.
George was highly respected and actually funded some of the settlement's major projects. In 1855, the Washington Territory legislature officially recognized George's ownership of his land, making him the first Black man to own land in the state of Washington.
The town of Tumwater is actually where George settled. So, to celebrate George's contributions to the state of Washington and their Black history, we headed there to see how the town recognizes the Black man that helped found it. Drive grade. Tumwater is about a 61-mile drive southwest of Seattle, which on that day made for about an hour and 5-minute drive.
The hour drive did seem a little long. There was some traffic on the way down, and we even came to a complete stop. But it got lighter the closer we got.
The views on the day we went weren't all that, but I know they are a lot better when our favorite mountain is out.
Still, other than the traffic at the beginning of the drive and no views, there wasn't much else to complain about the closer we got.
With not much to complain about, but more to be desired, we'll give a 3 out of 5 for drive grade.
Level of fun. The town of Tumwater borders our state capital of Olympia. The town is a lot smaller than Olympia and seems a little spread out.
This could possibly be why we had a little struggle finding the monuments and statues mentioning George Bush. Possibly. But lucky for us, we were able to get a little help from our friend Stephanie at the Black Heritage Society of Washington State.
The first spot we checked out was located at Tumwater Falls. Tumwater Falls is a popular landmark in the town and actually looks like a great place to take a walk just for the scenery alone.
There we found a plaque that has George Bush's name along with other pioneers who are part of the group settled in the area. This was cool, but we wanted to find something that honored George specifically.
For that, we headed to the vicinity of another option. After a little more searching, we found it. This was actually a gazebo-looking structure that sits on the side of the road.
The gazebo-looking structure has 4 sides, and each side contains information telling the story. And a couple are dedicated specifically to George Bush. Found it.
Yeah, and it took a little searching, but we finally found what we were looking for. To be honest, we thought that the monuments to George within the town were a little underwhelming considering his contribution.
But since we were so close by, we decided to stop by the state capitol and check out a really cool monument dedicated specifically to George Bush that was just unveiled in November of 2021 last year.
It was nice to see the state honor such an important figure in Washington State Black history, and really state history overall. But in regards to our level of fun grade, we aren't going to really give one since we wanted to focus on finding artifacts for George.
Yep. So for level of fun for this episode, we're going to give just an NA.
Comfortability for Black people. Just like level of fun for this episode, we will not be giving a comfort level for Black people grade since we are focusing on Black history.
We will say that we did see 2 other Black people during our time in Tumwater, but since we didn't really visit or interact with any of the establishments or people of the town, we feel like we can't really give an accurate rating.
So, for comfortability for Black people, we give an A.
We hope you found this video helpful and entertaining. Be sure to check out all of our previous episodes.
Yes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our page on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and check out our merchandise on travelingwhileblackseattle.com. And reach out if there's anywhere you would like us to go check out.
Until next time, beautiful people, stay up, stay true, and do you.